Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Now locking the taps of monies that have been coming from the Electoral Commission under the guise of the new law.
You can actually survive, but these difficulties, because I see we have had two major meetings at Katonga, delegates conference, two of them. I remember the first one was the most difficult, that people were offering matoke from Wankole. As Dombo said, dear one was offering a cow. We even went to NUP, they gave us 5 million. Yes.
For your delegates conference?
The first one. This second one, we are raising more or less the same way, asking the members to first they must transport themselves.
NUP is a donor to DF.
Not DF, PFF.
PFF rather.
Yeah. We reached out to them as friends and they made a contribution. So we reached out to many other people.
That's amazing.
But I am not sure we want to do that every day. That you go. NRM is not our friend. We are going to friends. So I'm not sure we want to do that every day, to go and inconvenience people looking for money. So this particular delegates conference we've just gone through, we asked each district to make a contribution, but also ask delegates to transport themselves. You will have some who are unable to transport themselves, and they will tell you, first of all, if I am from Koboko, I need to sleep in Kampala, at least make a contribution for transport. So I don't want to celebrate that situation, that you are asking people, so you're only raising money for food. But that's what I'm not sure it is sustainable, knowing the poverty in the country. But it becomes the only solution available to you. I don't think if NUP, Katana, and Chagulanyi, and Mwanga Chivumbi, if they had money, they would be disturbing their members. But it's something that has been imposed on you. I like the symbolism in it more than the money itself, for me, because I saw when the ordinary people were raising 1,000 for SJ in a container at Erare. Yes, so they were bringing anything that they have, but very difficult to run a campaign on those contributions. They create their own momentum and enthusiasm, but that enthusiasm may not give you the amount of money that you require. I was just looking at, we have about 70,000 polling stations. If you're going to deploy two polling agents on the polling day, 20,000. NRM, the last election, was giving between 100 and 200,000. For us, we are giving 20,000 for transport. You require, just for a presidential candidate, 1.4 billion. If you're going to deploy the same number for a woman MP and a elected MP, that's about 4.2 billion just for polling agents. You've got to feed them. You require transport. Recently, when Museveni had issues with the NRM infrastructure, he appointed 350 RDCs, each with a brand new pickup. So they are the ones who run around. You have ISO, you have... Because the elections in Uganda are not just ordinary election that you go and contest. When I was speaking about betting Nabima in Wakiso, you are lucky that the winning was so resounding. But if it is marginal, they will change it. Because if in Wakiso, I think you have more than 20,000 polling stations, you need to deploy people to go and bring you declaration forms to run to the Tare Center to begin quarreling with the returning officers. If the win is marginal, NRM will change it. I have a chairperson of a division in Boyogere. The NRM candidate got 1,000 votes. The NUP candidate got 5,000. But he was unable to correct DR form. So they announced the one of 1,000. And for 5 years, the man is there as the chairman of the division. Yet he got 1,000. My candidate of FDC became second with 2,000. But they announced the one who was third, because the winner didn't have declaration forms. And I don't want to think that was limited to only where you get it. They may have done it elsewhere. So you require to have presence at polling station, and that presence you must look for funding to feed the people, to transport them, to pay them a small allowance. So the amount of money a presidential candidate needs, minimum, you will need about 20 billion.
Honorable Ssemujju, do you think Mao's suspension of funding for political parties that have representation in parliament is going to have a bearing on the dynamics of the 2026?
I think in all this, before we left FDC, we had not renewed our membership in IPOD. NUP did not even sign a memorandum. At that time, I think both of us were being targeted the same way. Of course, you know what has happened to FDC since then. My sense is that this particular proposal,
under the new law now,
yes, was brought primarily to take away the money that was going to NUP. In the meeting that Museveni had on Monday with the DP, UPC, GMA, and Triple P of Bidandi, they agreed that now we'll share this money equally. And I think when Mao left, he wrote to Electoral Commission telling them, don't disburse the money until you hear from me. That was his letter. But it was not Mao. It is after that meeting of them meeting Museveni. So the idea is that because they know that money has become central even to doing basic things in a campaign, that we must starve parties that are disturbing us, that are disturbing Museveni, of any public funding. I was in the 7th Parliament when that idea of funding parties came, and who doesn't believe. The Political Parties and Organizations Act, I think section 14, you are not allowed to raise more than 400 million from outside Uganda by law. When you raise more, you're supposed to go to Electoral Commission. Is it in 21 days to declare that I have brought 450? So the people who were on the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, the watchers, the Ogaru, by the Parliament has changed the law, including NRM MPs, the medical guards and others. They said, you see, the moment you restrict fundraising, then you must provide a solution. Because the argument that Museveni was making, which many countries do, is that the moment parties become foreign funded, they are going to become agents of foreign interest. That has been a standard argument by Museveni, I've seen even in France and elsewhere. So they said, okay, we don't want them to become agents of foreign interest. Now we must find public money. We have stopped them from raising money from outside. So that was the background to the public funding. Then the debate started. Who do we fund? Who
has historically been foreign funded? The government.
Yeah. They said, how do we now, should be the criteria? Say, okay, parties that are represented in Parliament. And for the last couple of years, it is parties with representation in Parliament that have been accessing that money from Electoral Commission. In this Parliament, they say, no, this NUP, you don't qualify, you are disturbing us. So they brought a law in the most controversial circumstances. It is not brought by government. Initially, initially the sponsor of the law, as indicated on the order paper, were different people. The ones who moved it were completely different. So Mao is now implementing that policy shift, that only parties that are friendly.
Successfully arm twist the stubborn political parties to bow.
There is a choice to make by each of the parties. That choice, do you go and attend meetings? When I was in FDC, we said we don't want to attend meetings hosted and called by Museveni. That's why when the others went to Munyonyo, we boycotted. And we agreed as a party that we will not go, because Museveni had not attended any single meeting of IPOD for nearly 10 years. He only got interested to attend when there was pressure from Europe, from the Situation Room, from the elders, from the Interreligious Council, that you need to dialogue with the parties. Then he told the foreigners that you guys don't disturb me, we already have our mechanism, IPOD and the consultative forum. Then he said, why don't you call these things? Now everybody will see we are in a dialogue. That's the only time Museveni came. For the last 4 years in this term, Akena of UPC has been demanding that IPOD should meet, and Museveni has been the chair. Every party in IPOD is supposed to be chairing for 6 months. But Museveni has chaired for 4 years because he has not organized any meeting for him to hand over. Now I think he has remembered that, hey, I had activated this thing for this interest. Say now you call a meeting, now I come. NUP will not come, so we don't give them money. So even those who are saying that the criteria now in the law is by participation, maybe they are forgetting. Because Museveni has no interest in attending meetings of IPOD. He has attended only, I think, one, then he hosted another one in Rwakitura. And the purpose for his attendance was to tell the international community and the religious leaders here and the elders, the Ogola and others, that there is a mechanism. Don't introduce another thing that I should go and dialogue with the parties already there too. And he wrote about it.
So if this law is implemented to the letter,
so I said
Akena will also be eating.
The parties, because they have said we don't qualify, I think we qualify because you are now a parliamentary party. But the parties have to make a decision. Do you go to a meeting that Museveni wants to use to create an impression that there is no problem in Uganda, we even speak to each other? Do you want to go to that meeting? The population, you have to speak to the population to understand that.
Thank you. Honorable Dombo, do you think all parties now are at a crossroads after Mao's announcement that he's suspending until he issues a statutory instrument, and is it likely to cripple multi-party democracy?
Already Mao's decision is affecting parties. Because for us in the NRM, we pay salaries from the money that we raise. We fund the rent for the offices. Many years ago, you used to hear the areas that the NRM used to have, and non-paid areas for rent throughout the whole country. Right now, we are fully up to date.
So you don't pick from the state pass?
We have not.
Okay.
We have not, because right now, if it were not for the money that we have been raising through the nomination fees, would be having challenges in funding some of the activities.
But it's not right for Dombo to lie.
For some of the activities now. I want to tell you,
at least 3 of us here are journalists. I remember when Museveni was telling Kasule Lumumba to disband the NRM infrastructure, he said, I am tired of paying. That's why he reduced staff. But from the very beginning, when Museveni was holding meetings, even before he became a director for communication, and I think it must have been Kadaga who was telling him, he said, after elections, disband all the NRM infrastructure because I need 12 billion per month to run them.
Our budget,
so the money that funds is taxpayers' money.
Our budget
it is not
every
from
quarter,
electoral commission.
Our budget every quarter, without delving into the details, our biggest expense are the salaries, because we are the only party which has staff in every district, not even just every district, every political district. Because the divisions of Kampala are political districts for us, and we have admins there, we have registrars, we have assistant admins, we pay rent, and already we're having...
It's all picked from EC.
We're from EC, and we're having challenges right now if it wasn't for this money. So, the sooner...
You pay rent for for 200 offices from EC money,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Salaries.
Absolutely.
And buy vehicles.
How much do you pick every quarter?
Because every quarter we pick about...
Look at their vehicles, the ones of...
About 8
Can that money from EC buy all those vehicles and pay office and pay...
They pick 9 billion.
8 point something billion.
And how much does NUP pick?
1 point something.
Per quarter?
Yeah.
So, this is money which really has been very helpful to organizations, to parties. I just imagine what NRM would be without adequate fundraising internally, with the challenges. We were in areas, many places, many people had not been paid for a very long time. So we believe one of the things Mao should expedite the process of developing the statutory instruments and also developing the guidelines of how that money is going to be used.
But do you think the new law, the amended Political Parties Act is in good faith?
No.
It's not.
Let me tell you, before you look at the faith of the people, look at the faith of the people who are getting money without participating.
But
So why should why should they be getting
They
money
are not related.
when money is funded without giving accountability and also answering the call or the need why people should, because iPod, what is the purpose of going to
Has the
Parliament?
Electoral Commission complained about matters accountability?
The members of Parliament are the ones who complain because they are the ones who make the law. They amended the law. Who am I to complain?
You want to come in, Katana?
Yes, and help my senior brother here with information. And start from the point that one, the law, certainly the amendment, was not brought in good faith. On this very show, with the Honorable Jimmy Akena of UPC, he indicated how they were not consulted, and is a member of iPod. I am the vice chairperson of the National Consultative Forum. We were never consulted. There is no single political party, including NRM, which was consulted when they are bringing this amendment. And indeed, it's true that when they were bringing this amendment, the target was NUP at that particular point. He's mixing two things, and that's the information I want to give him, that the question of public funding of political parties is a statutory matter. iPod, as has been, was an NGO, unknown to the laws of Uganda. Now, but because NRM believes it has the character of a con artist, creating an impression of what they are not. They want to create an impression that there is tolerance, there is peaceful coexistence, that they are in dialoguing with the opposition, while they continue to beat, harass, and stop the opposition from running its business.
But Simon,
so the money that parties receive from the national coffers previously had nothing to do with iPod, because iPod was an NGO. Now,
so is iPod now the new stick?
Now, like he has mentioned that the minister is handling it in a shabby manner, because they were driven by bad faith. They rushed and said, how can we punish these people of NUP who have refused to be accomplices in creating this wrong impression? They rushed and came up with that amendment. But they forget one thing. Now, with this new amendment, iPod has been made an organ of the National Consultative Forum, of which we are a party. For us, we have been able to survive because of our unpredictability and the disruptive approach. Even with this shabby maneuver.
Can you do without the 1 point something that you, 1.6?
Less than that, about 1.4, I think. Well, I think that is not the most important question.
No, can you survive without it?
We have previously survived without it, but if it's our entitlement under the law, why shouldn't we get it?
You see, Simon, one of the things these people forget, it is statutory. Getting the money was statutory. When the statute is amended, it still remains statutory, even the amendment, when the amendment comes on. So the question is, the members of parliament, they have the preserve of moderating and amending the laws as and when, depending on the needs within the country. There is something which these people don't, which at times I want people to use their conscience to acknowledge. You see, laws are passed to create justice, to do things, but also to enable the infrastructure of government to operate. I was saying in the United States, the law enhances President Trump. It gives even powers. There was even a recent judgment by the Supreme Court giving more powers to the executive in order to function and deliver on the promises of government.
So for you only the bad things are
so this the earlier they realized that in the process of governance we can only do so when people interact and meet. It should not be them choosing to interact when they are benefiting, but not benefiting in order to drive the process of democracy ahead.
So additionally, Simon, the question of public funding of political parties is not a novel idea in Uganda. It's a global practice. Today, over 104 countries have that as a practice and law. It is only in Uganda where they are trying to force people to go into meetings with Museveni that those meetings are tagged to funding. Discussions that are in good faith. You don't have to compare people to sit with you, to appear with you in pictures.
Okay, you've been unequivocal in saying we can do without your money. What are the chances that you're likely to change this stance after realizing that you needed this money?
It's not a question of whether we need the money or not. It's a question of what is the party positions on matters are driven by what is strategically necessary and acceptable to the party at a particular point. So that is a discussion that the party will have, and I wouldn't want to preempt that discussion or speculate. So if the party makes a decision, first of all, like I mentioned, iPod now has been introduced as an organ of NCF. We are in NCF. I've told you on account of numerical strength, I'm the vice chairperson of the National Consultative Forum. Now, it's not that we are going into something new. We are in NCF. A strategic decision will be made as to whether on account of new developments, do we continue to associate under this arrangement or not?
Not we.
But
Thank you.
But I
Andrew,
want to
yes.
ask Katana a question. Why don't you, as NUP, want to participate in iPod?
The reason is that it has been reduced into a mere photo opportunity venture.
But your development is there.
Yeah, but where are the benefits? For example, if you, from the time iPod came to Uganda, have we seen a more fair political field?
You sit on the NCF,
Yes.
National Consultative
Yes.
Forum. Can you meet President
It's not the
Museveni
creation of...
under NCF?
Yeah, but why don't
It's
you
not
first finish this? Because you see, Andrew needs to understand.
Yes.
The Netherlands Institute for Democracy,
Multi-party democracy.
that through their NGO called the NUP, are the ones who exported the idea here, having implemented it in Ghana. Because in Ghana, it also happened partly in Kenya. They got the ruling party and the opposition to sit and set standards together. Code of conduct for parties. In fact, at one time they were sponsoring bills, especially relating to administration and democracy together. They said, you guys, why don't you do the same thing? The initial groups that were involved in iPod even brought bills in parliament on electoral reforms and administrative reforms, signed together. That time Mbabas was Secretary General of NRM. I think between Mbabas and Museveni, later Mbabas said this owned them. So in FDC, when we took a decision to leave, we said, these guys, we sat for so many months, agreed that we need to do this to improve elections in Uganda and democracy and so on, issues to do with security, the deployment of military, and bills were presented and received by the Deputy Speaker then, Jacob Oranya. So Mbabas came after presenting bills to which he was a party and said, no, this iPod is an NGO, so they left.
And
So we said the whole idea,
they are advisory.
yes, the whole idea of getting parties to dialogue and agree, because that's why the Prime Minister, who is the leader of government business, the leader of opposition, the whips were members of iPod. They said when we agree on a bill, they should together, the Prime Minister presents it, it is supported by a leader of opposition. The whips mobilize people to come and vote for it. The same way it was done in Ghana. They just disbanded it and took off. So the value that was supposed to be in iPod had nothing to do with the money, but it had everything to do with the democracy and governance.
Well, gentlemen, we have to take a very short break, and when we return, our issue will